All right, my good people. So we are now talking about closed reading strategies, and I will have the link to hopefully this PowerPoint at the bottom, or the link to my reference at the below the video if you're watching the video. And if you're here, we'll figure out a way to get this to you. So right now we are looking at closed reading strategies. What that is essentially when you are reading something, you want to pay close attention to it, right? We talked about finding the main topic in earlier today or in another video if you're watching this online. And we want to now figure out, how do I read more effectively? How do I read faster? How do I read in a better way, right? So what we have here is 8 steps that will help us do that. First thing that you can do, number the paragraphs. Number the paragraphs so you have a reference in your mind in paragraph 1, in paragraph 7, in paragraph 18, right? Number the paragraph. The other one is to survey the text, and we're going to go through all this stuff, chunk the text, highlight and underline with purpose, write in the margin, outline the summaries, outline and summarize, and form your own opinions and compare and contrast with related ideas. Cool? So let's take a closer look. Let me see this. Ooh. All right, we have a lot to go. We have a ways to go. All right. So step 1, you want to number the paragraph. Pretty simple, right? The writing test, if you're doing a writing test, for example, like the GED, the SATs, whatever other GREs, whatever other test you are writing or you are asked to do, the writing test will ask you to be able to cite and refer to the text, right? Or it will, or if you're, answering questions, you want to be able to know where you found something. So in your mind, you want to be able to have like a frame of reference, something that will help you connect to the text in a faster way so that you're not looking for it all over the place. So really what happens is almost like a mental process. When you do that, your mind puts it in categories so that really when you are reading, even subconsciously, you're better able to keep track of where you read it because that number is there, okay? So very simple thing, just do that first thing off when you see a text. That way you can have a good frame of reference. Step number 2 is surveying the text, okay? So you want to look at the text and just kind of like quickly glance over it. You want to quickly be able to say, oh, let's see, what's the title of this text? The title tells us a lot, right? Who's the author? Do I have any information about what he or she does? You can describe any visuals in the sections that you've been asked to read. What do the visuals of the text tell you about the author's purpose? So for example, if you have a text that has a picture, well, usually that picture is related to that text. So it tells us something. So it gives us more ideas, or it helps us understand the text a lot more. And finally, you can assess your overall impression of the text between the numbers, the layout, the charts, and so forth, right? So if you are reading something about science and you see a chart, it's a good idea to look at the chart first to see, okay, well, this is kind of what I think the idea of this paragraph will be, right? So these also help you find your topic sentence because you know almost what, or you think you can anticipate what you think the paragraph is about. Does that make sense? Yeah? All right, good. So in this case, we have an example that says, a win for robo readers, right? Large study shows shows little difference between human and robot essay graders. Cool? So we know from the title and the subtitle that whatever we're going to read is about robots reading essays, right? We can tell that simply by reading the text or simply by reading the title. We haven't even gotten to the text part, but we already know that this is what we are doing. All right. So this is kind of the example that we have. This is the full text, right? This is our title, or who it is, or who wrote it, when it was written, and so forth, which we can take a look at later. But by simply looking at this information, what do we know? We know that it's a win for robot readers, right? They're doing something good, right? They're advancing. We also can see that it is quite a numerous paragraph, right? So we have how many? If we were to number it, we'd say, do this. Okay. I don't know if it'll continue. I don't think it will continue. I know it won't continue. Anyways, so we can see like paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, am I at 10? I don't think I'm at 10. I think I'm at 9. Point is, when we do, you can kind of see now, like as you're looking at it with the numbers there, that it's easier for you to connect, right? Now you have a frame of reference. If you read something and you want to go back to it, you can easily go back to it by having the numbers there, okay? So we looked at the title, right? A win for robot readers or robo readers. We looked at the subheading, right? Large study shows little difference between humans and robot essay graders. We know that. So what do you think this is going to be? Is it a fiction? It's a nonfiction. Why is it a nonfiction? Is it because it says that on the slide? No. Well, because it actually tells you there is a study, right? So it says a large study shows, okay? So by saying it's a study, it means that it was actually done at a lab. Someone, like a doctor kind of went in and wrote this study and conducted it and were able to replicate it and so forth, right? So we know that it is nonfiction. And what do we know about nonfictions? Well, we have biographies, we have essays, we have narrative nonfictions, we have nonfictions generally like studies, right? And we have speeches, public addresses, right? If there's the president's speech that you're watching, it is a speech and it is nonfiction, or if you're reading it. Cool? So that's kind of what we know about nonfiction. So what are these categories? So these are, right now, we're still looking into surveying the text, right? So how do they look different? Well, a biography or an autobiography tells the story of a person's life. For example, if we say, sorry, if I tell you that the title is The Narrative Life of Frederick Douglass, what kind of nonfiction would that be? It's called The Narrative Life of Frederick Douglass. It would be a biography or an autobiography, because in the title, that's what it says. It's so the biography or an autobiography, it tells the story of a person's life. Yeah? So that's what a biography does. Cool? And it's a real person. So the narrative life of Frederick Douglass is a real life story. And so it is a biographical, I think it's autobiography, actually, he wrote it, nonfiction, okay? Then we have essays. Essays are also nonfictions. And what are essays? Well, essays are a short literary composition that reflects the author's outlook or point, right? So we write an essay to talk about a certain thing, correct? That's what essays are for. So if it looks like an essay, if it's telling you someone's opinion, then it is an essay and it's nonfiction. Narrative nonfiction is as a story, a factual information presented in a way of a story. Okay, so it's told like a story, like if you're watching a movie about someone's life, well, that person truly lived, right? So let's say you're watching a movie and it's on Mother Teresa, and it's told in a story as if she's there, she's living it. Well, that is a narrative nonfiction because it is narrated like it's a story, but it is also real. So it's a narrative nonfiction. And then you have nonfiction. So this is informational text dealing with actual real life subject, right? For example, if you are reading Think and Grow Rich, right? That book, it's nonfiction and it's business nonfiction. Yeah, because it gives us actual facts and actual information. And speech, everyone knows what a speech is, right? What the president gives, what the politicians give. These are all speeches. Cool? All right. So let's take a look. Well, I don't want to open it and then it'll take me somewhere else. Okay, so for example, this is where our story comes from, right? The story that is here, that's the reference. All right. So another genre is fiction, right? Fiction is anything that is not real. Anything that is not about real life. Could be about real life, but it's not actual information, right? It's not like about business or science or things like that. So we have dramas, and these are all the same as if you're watching a movie, right? If you're watching a movie or you're watching a series, these are the same things you'll find, like drama, right? Like fables, things like The Lord of the Rings, right? Fairy tales, Cinderella, fantasy, right? Fiction, fiction in verse is like poetry, right? Folklore, right? Things that are of the culture, right? Historical fiction, horror, humor, legend, mystery, mythology, poetry, realistic fiction, science fiction, stories, short stories, and tall tales. These are all types of fiction, and they are most likely you've come across these things, right? Everyone's seen movies, everyone's seen series, watch something that is not real, right? Money Heist, for example, depicts a story like as if it's a real person, but it's not. So it's fiction, right? Cinderella is a fairy tale. Beauty and the Beast, fairy tale, right? So you've seen this. This is something that you've experienced. Again, it's just a matter of putting a label on it. Once you know the idea or the genre that we're talking about, then it becomes easier to read because your mind then goes like, oh, okay, well, this is what this is about. Does that make sense? Or like you switch from thinking, oh, I'm thinking about numbers or facts, to thinking, oh, it's a story about Romeo and Juliet, right? So your mind then categorizes them into the right categories. And so you can do that generally by surveying the text. So by looking at the text and thinking, oh, let me see what this this title is. Let me see what's the first sentence of the paragraph, of the first paragraph. If it starts with once upon a time, it's probably a fiction, right? Or one time long, long ago, right? These are all fiction starters. If it has charts, like pie charts, this tells you that it's probably nonfiction. If it has a picture of a fairy, that tells you that it is fiction, right? Or if it has a picture of something happening, it's probably fiction. Yeah? Any questions? Cool. All right, step 3 is to break up the text or to chunk the text. So break up the text into smaller chunks that you can easily manage, right? It then becomes like a lot easier for you to look at the text. Just like we said, you number it. makes it less intimidating because you know what it is, right? Because you categorize it in your mind. You can look at the paragraph to see where natural chunks occur, right? Paragraph 1 through 3 may be the hook and the thesis. 6 through 7 establish support, right? So tell us examples of why. And 9 may have the author's position. Not 7 through 9 have the author's position. Yeah? So when you chunk the text, it becomes easier for you to read it. It becomes easier for you to understand it. So all I'm saying, all this is saying is break it up into smaller paragraphs. That's it. Cool? Yeah? Awesome. All right. So predict the main idea while chunking. So based on the title, what do you think this is about, right? Surveying, what do you think this is about? Read the first and last sentence of each paragraph. And then that will kind of gives you a closer idea of what the topic is about or what this, the story is about. And what new information did you learn about the article, right? This is quickly before reading the article. If you do this before, I guarantee you that when you do come to the point where you actually read the paragraph, you know what the paragraph is about, even if you don't understand all the words that are there. Okay? Yeah? So this is all just to help you make sure that it becomes simpler. All right. So did you learn anything new? This is about going back to the one that we were talking about. So we're not going to do that one. All right. And of course, if you have a highlighter or you can underline, you can do that with a purpose. Not everything deserves to be highlighted, but you can say, okay, well, this is important or this looks important. And when you go back to that text, it makes it a lot easier for you when you are reading. Cool? Questions? Doubts? Thoughts? No? Are you falling asleep on me, people? People in the class are falling asleep. People online, are you falling asleep? All right, if you're falling asleep and you're online, I don't know what to do with you, but they've been here for like 3 hours. So at this point, my people, I'm falling asleep. I just want to eat. I really just want to eat right now. I want food and I want it now. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Food. No, okay. All right, so you also could underline terms, underline or circle key terms. And these, again, kind of goes with highlighting, right? But if you're underlining or circling key terms, find what is important, what is relevant to the topic. You've read the topic sentence right at the beginning of the paragraph. You've probably, if it's multiple paragraphs, it's usually at the first in the first paragraph, right? First and last sentence of the paragraph. Okay. All right. Write in the margins, right? If you can write in the margins, go ahead and do that. No one's stopping you. It makes it, you can give like a summary, a 10-word summary, 10 or less of the paragraph. That way, when you go back to it, it's easy breezy. Cool. Again, you outline and you summarize the main idea and you restate them in your own words. That's how we summarize. Okay. Identify the main idea, what details and evidence support the author's claim, and what was the evidence convincing. Cool. Easy breezy. Just annotate. Okay. Form your own opinion. All right. Let's go through this. Okay. So I suppose these were the other ones that we had, right? So you can highlight and underline with purpose. You can write in the margins. Cool. You can outline and summarize. These are all, you don't have to do all of them. All right. If you are reading and you want to do a closed reading, it's good to do a lot of these. You could pick like 2 or 3 to do, but you don't have to do all of them. All right. And then the last part, forming your own opinion. So if you're writing an essay, if you are in an English class, or maybe you have an English test coming up, and you see this and you're supposed to refer back to the text, then you can say, oh, in paragraph 5, this was the reference. or you can say, this is what I think, but this is what the author thinks. So make sure you form your own opinion, okay? So did they present, you can agree, you can disagree, you don't always have to agree with the author. If you are, writing an essay or response to a close reading on a test or anywhere, and you want to ask yourself, was this essay well written? Was this information useful? And so forth, okay? So all in all, just make sure that these are ways that helps you do the close reading, and make sure you pick a few of them when you are reading your text so that it will help you. Sounds good, my people? All right. If you are watching this and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. If you are in class and you have questions, go for it and ask me. And if you are online, make sure to put your comments down below and I will get to them. All right. Ooh, let's stop recording.